It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Tuesday, February 1st, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Tuesday? We've got some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, looking into the book of Ephesians, and thoughts of the week on ministry. All right, everyone, how are you guys doing today? Monday is in the books, and it's officially done, so now we can get into this week fully head on, right? So, Monday's always a tough day. And now that we're over that one, let's just get fully into this week, putting our hearts and our minds into the word, especially this week, about relative predestination and doing our responsibilities. I hope you guys are enjoying your week thus far. Really thankful for all of you guys joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. So please build the community, like and comment. Want to hear from you guys, see how you're doing. It's time to build a Providence English-speaking community more than anything else. All right. So what is happening recently for me? Yes, I've been working out for about a week and a half now. It's getting close to 2 weeks soon. By Thursday, it'll be 2 weeks. But guess what the gains I've had? No, not gaining weight. But I did check my weight after going to the gym about 8-9 times. I've been running about 2 kilometers a day and just doing small bits of weight training. Because, I don't want to I don't want to go too strong and then my whole body will be aching, because this is what happened after my first 2 days of working out. I missed pre-dawn because my body was just gone. It was so sore and I was just I couldn't even get up. But, I'm slowly getting myself into it. And I checked my weight, and originally I'm about a little over 85 kilograms, which is very, very high for me because I'm usually around anywhere from 80 to 82, right? 80 to 82 is where I'm normally at. But I'm at over 85 kilograms, and then I checked myself this morning, and I was at 82 and a half to 83, somewhere in there, right? So I know that I've lost some weight, but I feel really, really good about myself even more. And I want to get a little bit more, get some more advanced metrics, what is my body fat percentage, what is my muscle percentage, all that other junk, and, that kind of stuff. But, I'm hoping that in the future I can... I don't really want to be buff and macho. I don't want to be like that. I don't really care about that. I just want to be in shape, right? I know what I look like when I'm in shape. I know how I feel when I'm in shape. But for 2 years, it's not been like that. So I know that I have to kind of switch and change my mind around a little bit more too. So get myself more into that. Oh, I just started something. Was it yesterday? What day is it? Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was just yesterday. So yesterday, happy Chinese New Year to everyone, by the way. Today is Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year, happy Chinese New Year to everyone. Woo, Chinese New Year, right? But really, really cool thing is, yesterday my family came over, my aunt and uncle, my brother came over. We all had the traditional New Year's not dumpling, it's dokguk, which is rice cakes in this soup, and they also ordered fried chicken from this Korean place. But my mom and dad, I bought them a new TV and a new TV stand, right? So you guys all saw that on my Instagram. But now they have this old TV and an old TV stand, and they're like, all right, so let's just give it away or whatever it is. And I was like, you know what? Come on, we should sell it again. And, I was like, we should put it on the secondary market and see what happens. And I didn't know where to look, so I was checking around the internet, and I couldn't find a lot of places. And then my brother came over. He's like, hey, just put it on Facebook Marketplace. And I was like, what's that? He's like, yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like a Craigslist kind of thing. I was like, oh, okay. So I posted the TV onto this marketplace on Facebook, and there's a 40-inch TV. I put it up for $50 Canadian, which is for those of you in Malaysia, it's going to be 150 ringgit for a 40-inch TV, right? And I thought to myself, let's just try it out, because we were going to give it away anyway. So let's just see if we can make some money. And within 10-15 minutes, I already sold it. I sold it. in 10 to 15 minutes. And then everyone's like, trying to be they're all experts now. Like, you should have sold it for more, right? I'm just like, come on, it's my first time. So then I was like, let's try some more stuff. So I put the old TV stand, and my mom was like, you should have given the TV stand with the TV. I was like, no, Mom, let me go, let me see if I can sell this. So I put this small wooden cabinet for $20, and I sold it. I sold it yesterday. No, I sold it today. And then I was like, you know what? Let's do the dining room table. And we got a brand new dining room table. So the old one, we don't know what to do with it, and 6 chairs, and they're gonna just throw it out in the front yard. And when I was like, no, let's put it on. We put it on, and I sold it for like $135. They're picking it up today. Right? So already I've sold 3 things on there. So now it's so weird. I'm like getting hooked on this. I'm looking for things to sell. I'm looking all over the house. Like, what else can I sell? And I'm getting a little bit nervous because I might get too into it that I start selling things that we actually need. But it's kind of cool. So the only thing that I haven't sold yet is my basketball shoes that I've worn only twice. But for me, it hurts my feet for some reason. And then I'm also gonna sell my dad's computer monitor because I bought him a new one too. So it's kind of exciting. My brother said he's gonna send over his snowboards, his old snowboard, and he's gonna bring it over so I can sell that too, just to see what I can, make with these things that people don't want. So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty excited about this because it's a new thing, and it's easier than I thought. You just put on a platform with like millions of people on it, and it just sells. So I'm super, super thankful and happy that I was able to try something like this too. But yeah, so that's kind of a new thing that I'm doing right now. It's just interesting. So I made like over $200 so far, and we're gonna see. Me and my parents gonna go out for some seafood with that money because we're like, yeah, let's just try it out, and we're selling stuff, so it's kind of cool. Either way, we so that's kind of what I'm doing. And Thursday, we do have our new video on Espresso with Sky. And now that I'm looking at this new year, one of the things I'm really inspired by this week's message of doing things, taking action, is trying some new stuff on my Espresso with Sky channel. So I do think I'm going to try like a reaction. Like, reaction videos are very popular. So I want to react to Christian preachers. That's what my next new thing I want to try is, taking a sample of a Christian preacher speaking, and then listening to it and reacting to it and just seeing like, oh, wow, that's quite interesting. Or like, oh my gosh, how could they say that kind of thing? So I'm just going to see. Like, I'm going to start looking up some like woke preachers, because I found this one Catholic priest saying that Jesus was transgender. Can you believe that? Yeah, see, can you imagine that? Like, that would make, I would want to take a look at that and react to that just because it looks so interesting. But either way, yeah, I'm gonna try and do that with these videos. Either way, so I want to try something new. I'm gonna see if these things can actually work out or not. Last Sunday edition, guys, remember, for the last Sunday edition, we interviewed, what was it? Oh, it was the artist series, the second artist series I did with Juice Star Aiden Verity. And this week it's going really well. And I know that a lot of you are seeing that these member artists from around the world are grabbing all their inspiration from this history, from the word, from Sunseem's life and such. It's really inspiring when you hear how Juice Star came up with that song, I Get Excited. So I hope you guys really enjoy that one too. And it's super fun, just getting in the minds of these people who are looking, who are making art for this history. So I'm super excited about that also. Go ahead and check that out. It's gonna be really, really fun. So let's get into some member music from around the world. We'll start off with the featured artist of the day. Today's featured artist of the day is Mariah Henry from America. Great song here. This is like really upbeat. It's called Welcome Back. It's from her only album, and I'm going to be pressing her to start making some more music because she got some really good music. So Welcome Back is going to be that the first song, the feature artist of the day today. And then we'll go into Man and Groom from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with the song Chigum. And Chigum it means now, right? So that'll be the second song. And then last but not least, we'll go to the Rapture Collective from Australia. And that hot song is All My Thanks and Love, all right? So I hope that all of you guys enjoy this member music from around the world.
Already said we win and keep on watching now. Already said we winning, not just playing around. defense, offense, that's what life's about. Star player on my team, watch us come back. No limits on the team, sign the contract. Star player put the team on his whole back. Coming from the east to the west, yeah, he did that. So respect that.
What you saying?
Through struggle, we trained hard, and now we standing on the gold road. It felt so low, but welcome home. Send the starting lineup, defense, let's get back, intensify, no more time to cry. Yeah, we ran the court and brought back the ring. Something on my mind, something all the time we like.
Thought we was finished, but we at it again.
Screaming like
1,000 years, you know we surely will win. It's time to suit up, yeah, it's game time. He coming back like the 4-5. Eagle has landed, no bird's eye. In the suit tie, he's so fly. It's hip off, now the dreams alive. Making sure your heart and actions are only aligned. Making sure you're only using just God's design. I perform like this to show you I'm shining bright. We know they watching, so we always gotta be cautious. Put the word on the map, that's the only option. Thinking we exhausted, now it's time we blow past. And we got that second win, so it's time to run it. We running through the defense, penetrating, I ain't never faking. Comeback season coming, yeah, we gonna show you who the greatest. Beat them by a less, I show them there is time for no debate. And at the end, you either mediocre or you be the greatest.
what's up? Hey, you think the world is gonna stop us? But wait, the MVP is with us, no bluff. I said
So neat. I'm with my angels like a billion deep. I ball so hard that they can't compete. We only going up, just watch and see.
and the starting lineup, defense, let's get back, intensify, no more time to cry. Yeah, we ran the court and brought back the ring. Something on my mind, something all the time we like.
Thought we was finished, but we at it again.
Screaming like
1,000 years, you know we surely will win.
something on my mind, something all the time. Something on my mind, something all the time. Something on my mind, something all the time. Something on my mind, something all the time.
흐릿했던 날씨가 이제 꽤 맑은 듯해 숨이 자꾸 날 움켜쥐고 뭐라도 해야 될 것 같은 이 느낌 so good 내님 굼 하늘 위로 가족에게 다시 전화 걸었지 난 알았다고 빛이 아냐 이제는 비밀 우린 계속 어쩌려고 친구에게 자신을 말하지 럭키 컨택 영원하지 옛날 사진처럼 우린 여전 직진 난 아직 잊지 못해 순수한 야망꾸리지 이걸 뜯어내긴 내 신념이 단단해 그 삽 가지고는 안 돼 더 큰 걸 들고 덤벼 사실 중요하지 않아 이젠 기껏 삶이 없는 사람들의 텅 빈 시선 이상주의자인 내 현실은 고통 이어도 내 신념을 갉아먹진 않죠 나도 꽤 많은 실수를 하고 비관 적이 될 뻔했던 자신에게 미안 Sorry for my homie, really love me 하나 둘씩 알아가는 이게 재밌어 알을 깨는 것이 그때마다 두려워도 내 생각만큼 큰 일이 아니었고 그걸로 셀링 높은 파도 원해 그게 더 짜릿한 걸 난 정말로 매일 밤마다 했던 내 기도가 눈 앞에 난 목적 잊고 있게 하고 싶어 하늘 안에 악마들 달려들어도 하나님께 매달리는 죽을 때가 돼도 목에 매달이 달려있게 이길래 영원히 서서 나 잠을 잘래 거울 아도 난 좋게 저기서 별을 달래 꿈에 다가기도 부족해 서서 나 잠을 잘래 거울 아도 난 좋게 저기서 별을 꼭 달래 꿈에 다가기도 부족해 꿈에 다가기도 부족해 꿈에 다가기도 부족해 꿈에 다가기도 부족해 꿈에 다가기도 부족
Yeah, welcome to God's new history. Daily preaching, the Bible no longer a mystery. Saving lives, taking action, what a wonderful destiny. Working tirelessly and we can become heavenly. All I ever wanted for you is to see we can become one with the Trinity. A condition was set by His highest confess and pray, create a new mindset. If you follow until the end, I promise you, you will surely realize God's divineness.
He's divine, y'all. Alpha and Omega, He's divine. Yeah. So let's reflect on the past. You gotta look deeply at the things God has done. Salvation at the highest has been granted. That's a blessing of blessings, the Lord's mandate. Spring water that heals faster than a band-aid. COVID safe cause his eyes was on us like a magnet. Got the seal on our foreheads, yet they can't do nothing. The devil and his gang have been disbanded.
So I raise my praise to you. So I lift my hands up high. Even in my weakness, even in my struggles, I'll always give my thanks and love. All my thanks and love.
Got so many bars that I never lose signal. Keeping it lit like a candlelight vigil. Lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. God's word is my perspective, the righteous collective. Filtering pollution, being mentally selective. Guarding the heart, it's a protective. Do it in a new way, in spirit and physicality. Do it in a new way, take it higher, raise a level. Giving God glory, God's love is the story. So rich in his love, feeling like a rich miser. Love is exploding like a geyser. Love so contagious, spread across the world like Pfizer. Antidote of the nation.
Reflect on the past. You gotta look deeply at the things God has done. Salvation at the highest has been granted. That's a blessing of blessings, the Lord's mandate. Spring water that heals faster than a band-aid. COVID safe cause his eyes was on us like a magnet. Got the seal on our foreheads, yet they can't do nothing. The devil and his gang have been disbanded.
So I raise my praise to you. So I lift my hands up high. Even in my weakness, even in my struggles, I'll always give my thanks and love. All my thanks and love.
And there you go. That was the Rapture Collective from Australia with All My Thanks and Love. Before that, Man and Groom from PMA in Korea with Now or Jigum. And last but not least, we have the feature artist of the day. That's Mariah Henry from America with the song Welcome Back. All right, so let's get into some news going on around the world. And of course, 3 reasons why we look at the world news. Number 1, as Sunseam says, you need to see what God is doing and you can see it through the world news, big events in the world. Number 2 is you get to see the condition of the world itself. And last but not least, what are the things that we can comfort God's heart in? Okay, so let's start off with the coronavirus updates for today. Globally, to this date, there have been over 376 million cases with over 5.68 million deaths. Interestingly, the mortality rate has gone down, but not even a full 0.01%, so it's still remaining at 1.51%. Top 5 countries going by daily death rates. We have India on top, 940 deaths with 209,000 cases. Russia in second with 617 deaths and 121,000 cases. Mexico jumps to third, 522 deaths, 42,000 cases. US drops to fourth place with 329 deaths and 96,000 cases. And Brazil, 280 deaths and 104,000 cases. Over here in North America, of course, the US and Mexico are in the top 5. So Canada remains with 75 deaths and 8,800 cases in a single day. What do we have for the current news around the world? We're going to start off with Canada. And there is something crazy happening here called the Freedom Convoy. I think it's supposed to be the world's largest trucker convoy. Okay? So Ottawa residents are prisoners in their own homes. So there are protests in Canada's capital city against a vaccine mandate for truckers crossing the US-Canada border. And they have entered their 3rd consecutive day. So citing traffic, noise, and safety issues from the so-called Freedom Convoy, Ottawa Police asked the public to avoid the downtown area on Monday. Some downtown stores, including a shopping mall, will also be closed. Demonstrators have been mostly peaceful, but behavior by some members of the crowd has been strongly criticized, but mostly peaceful. A GoFundMe page right, to support the convoy has now raised over $7 million US. And at an invite-only news conference on Sunday, Benjamin Dichter and Tamara Lick, the two organizers behind the page, said they aim to create a logistics nightmare to put pressure on the Canadian government. The convoy began as a call to end a vaccine mandate imposed by the Liberal government on January 15th that would require unvaccinated Canadian truckers returning from across the US border to quarantine once they return home. But it has since grown into a push to end all vaccine mandates nationwide and what they see as government overreach of COVID-19 restrictions. So I think there's supposed to be like 10,000 trucks. Yes, I said 10,000 trucks in this convoy. And it's kind of crazy because when you get into the statistics of truck drivers, it's crazy that they have this restriction, right? So the crowd of demonstrators, the truckers and their supporters were estimated to be in the thousands on Saturday as they gathered on and around Parliament Hill. The crowd has since thinned, but many protesters have indicated they plan to stay on until their demands are met. Think of the statistics of Canadian truck drivers. 90% of Canada's 120,000 cross-border truckers are vaccinated, in line with the country's adult population, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has called the protesters a fringe minority. So they have 90% vaccination rate. So it's kind of weird how they're 90% vaccinated, but they all have to quarantine coming back from the border. So Trudeau left his Ottawa home with his family over the weekend and has been staying at an undisclosed location amid security concerns. On Monday morning, he tweeted that he had tested positive for COVID-19 and would continue to work remotely this week while following public health guidelines. Members of Parliament will be returning to the House of Commons on Monday after nearly 2 months on recess, and existing permissions for MPs to work remotely may allow legislators to avoid the protesters that have converged on Parliament Hill. Now, on Sunday, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson said residents feel they're prisoners in their own homes, and he also said you have the right to protest, and you've had your protest, so please move on. Our city has to get back in normal stead, right? And that's kind of what he told the news. But also over the weekend, the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies slammed the use of Nazi symbols by some protesters as a heinous form of Holocaust distortion. Now, reports on social media indicate that truckers in the U.S. may be planning a similar demonstration that would see them drive from California in the west to the country's capital in Washington, D.C., right? So this could be a movement that's going to change everything because, there's a huge supply chain problem right now. And if you think about it, it's pretty crazy that these restrictions in Canada, 90% vaccinated, but they all have to get vaccinated when they cross the border. And you're talking about in a profession where you're driving alone most of the time. It's true, right? Truckers don't get together. They're driving alone for like 99% of their time is driving alone more than anything else. So this is something that could make a big change in government policies. Let's see what happens here. In second news, we'll go to Brazil. And there are rains pouring down on Brazil. And these floods in Sao Paulo has killed 21 people already and destroyed homes. At least 21 people have died in floods and landslides caused by torrential rains in the Brazilian state of Sao Paulo, officials say. 9 others have been injured and many more are missing, while more than 600 families have been left homeless. Sao Paulo's governor, João Doria, has released emergency funds after surveying the flooded areas by air. Heavy rains since the start of the wet season have killed more than 40 people in Bahia and Minas Gerais states. One of the worst hit areas in Sao Paulo state is Franco da Roca, where 4 people died in a landslide and 6 others were rescued. Firefighters and health workers worked around the clock looking for victims in the mud, but local authorities believe up to 14 people are still missing. The mayor's office in Franco da Roca urged people living in areas at risk of flooding to seek shelter with friends and relatives. Other badly affected parts of the greater Sao Paulo area include, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but it's like Caieiras, Aruja, Francisco Morato, and Embu das Artes. Storms have also caused damage in a number of areas throughout the state. Mr. Doria said he had authorized 15 million reais, which is about $2.8 million of emergency aid for the affected cities, and the Federal Ministry of Regional Development said it was monitoring the situation. In recent months, actually, heavy rains have affected other areas of Brazil, leaving dozens dead and thousands displaced, with the northeastern state of Bahia one of the hardest hit. The floods also briefly forced a suspension of mining operations in the states of Minas Gerais, where at least 15 people died earlier this month. Meteorologists say the excessive rain is a result of summer phenomenon, the South Atlantic convergence zone that causes heavy rainfall, and the bad weather is also a result of La Nina, a climate pattern in the Pacific Ocean that can affect weather worldwide. Experts also say climate change is contributing to extreme weather events around the world. And in last news, we're going to go to the UK. Partygate. So this is about Prime Minister Boris Johnson had some parties during the lockdown, and they call it Partygate. And Partygate report slams failures of leadership in UK. So finally, there is the report that came out. Downing Street publishes a redacted version of an eagerly awaited report on claims of the Prime Minister's lockdown-breaking parties. The UK government has published a redacted version of an eagerly awaited report on claims of lockdown-breaking parties at the office of Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The document was submitted to Downing Street on Monday by senior civil servant Sue Gray, who investigated a series of revelations about boozy get-togethers held while the government told the public to remain socially distanced. At least some of the gatherings in question represents a serious failure to observe not just the high standards expected of those working at the heart of government, but also of the standards expected of the entire British population at the time, the report said. Against the backdrop of the pandemic, when the government was asking citizens to accept far-reaching restrictions on their lives, some of the behavior surrounding these gatherings is difficult to justify, it added. The strongly worded findings are a blow to Johnson, who has previously said the rules were followed at all times, and came despite the fact that Gray's conclusion related to just 4 of the 16 events she investigated. Now, her findings on 12 other events in 2020 and 2021 have been withheld at the request of the police, who have launched a criminal investigation into the most serious alleged breaches of coronavirus rules. The cuts have led opponents to accuse Johnson of a whitewash. So there was an address to Parliament. Johnson was due to make a statement on the findings in the House of Commons on Monday evening, and among the events under investigation by police are a June 2020 birthday party for Johnson and 2 gatherings held on the eve of Prince Philip's funeral in April 2021. Allegations that the Prime Minister and his staff flouted restrictions imposed on the country to curb the spread of the coronavirus have caused public anger, led some conservative lawmakers to call for Johnson's resignation, and triggered intense infighting inside the governing party. Johnson has denied personal wrongdoing and said he has absolutely no intention of resigning, but Johnson's grip on power has been weakened by allegations that he and his staff flouted restrictions they imposed on the country in 2020 and 2021 to curb the spread of the coronavirus with bring-your-own-booze office parties, birthday celebrations, and wine time Fridays. So, publications of Gray's report was delayed when the Metropolitan Police Force launched its own investigation last week into the most serious alleged breaches of coronavirus rules. So, this is quite interesting, and this could be one of the reasons why he has to resign, or they might have a no-confidence vote on Boris Johnson, which means he would have to step down and they'd have to get a new prime minister. So, let's see what happens here. Let's get into top 3 sporting news for the day. Number 1, of course, is the NFL Conference Playoffs. Great games that day. It was a great day of sports. First game was Kansas City Chiefs, the favorites to win the Super Bowl, played against the Cincinnati Bengals, who haven't been to the playoffs in 31 years. And guess what? Cincinnati beat the Kansas City Chiefs 27-24. It's been 33 years since the Cincinnati Bengals went to the Super Bowl, so this is quite amazing. And I watched this game with my brother. It was crazy. It went to overtime. Patrick Mahomes, the best QB in the league, throws an interception, and then they come back and they score a field goal to win the entire game. And what's even crazier was Kansas City was leading 21-3 after halftime, and they just got blitzed for that second half. So, yeah, it's quite crazy. There were some fatal errors in there, too. In the second game, it was the LA Rams versus San Francisco 49ers, which means it's the Battle of California. And crazy game too. 3-point game. The LA Rams defeat the San Francisco 49ers. Came down to the last drive of the game with only 1 minute left. And it was Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. He threw an interception, and that was the game, right? So Matthew Stafford, he's on a revenge tour. Well, he just got traded this year, and he's going to the Super Bowl. 337 yards passing, 2 TDs, and 1 interception. Great job. Cooper Kupp, probably in line for MVP too, but 11 receptions, 142 yards, and 2 TDs. So he had a great game. In soccer news, this is a great one. And yesterday, Canada played the U.S. in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, and guess what? Canada won 2-0 against the U.S., which means they have just won 6 games in a row. They have 21 points now, leading the CONCACAF, which means they only need 3 points to qualify for the World Cup, which means, they are 4 points ahead of both U.S. and Mexico. Mexico tied with Costa Rica 0-0, but wow, Canada is 4 points up. So even if they lose and Mexico and the U.S. win, they'll still be number 1 in the division. But let's just get that one more win and we're going to the World Cup, which is great because 2022 is the World Cup this year. And then the next one, 2026, that's going to be in the U.S. and Canada. So that's going to be pretty wild to see in 2026. All right. And for those of you guys who are knowing, in the Asian Football League, for the World Cup qualifying, South Korea and Iran are topping their groups, and they're sitting pretty. Iran's got 19 points, South Korea has 17 points, and they are 8 points above third place. So, they're pretty safe right now. And in the second group, we have Saudi Arabia with 19 points atop the group, and then Japan and Australia with 15 and 14 points. And then after them, there's a big slip off, and the rest of them only have like 7 points. So they are, they're 7 points above everyone else. So it's going to be a big battle between Japan and Australia to see who wins that one there. Finally, in some basketball news in the NBA, the Clippers beat the Charlotte Hornets 115-90. LaMelo Ball, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists in the losing effort. The Atlanta Hawks defeat the LA Lakers 129-121. Trae Young, 36 points and 12 assists. Chicago Bulls beat the Portland Trail Blazers 130-116. The Denver Nuggets defeat the Milwaukee Bucks 136-100, which is a 36-point blowout. But you had the reigning MVP and then the MVP before that battling it out. Giannis with 29 points and 9 rebounds in a losing effort. And Jokic with 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 15 assists in that game. Phoenix Suns on a 11-game winning streak. Beat the San Antonio Spurs 115-110. Chris Paul, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 19 assists. And then the Orlando Magic defeat the Dallas Mavericks 110-108. And Luka Doncic with a triple-double, 34 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists in a losing effort. All right? So that is your top 3 news in sports, world news, and of course, the coronavirus updates. Which means what, guys? It is time for the golden time, a time of praise and worship. It's something we got to do every day, not just during service. We got to do it every day. So we're going to start off with the fulfillment of hope, an oldie but a goodie. Then we'll go to go higher and higher. And then we'll finish off with Pastor Joan in what faith has given me. All right. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Some people wait, hoping for what they expect could be. Those kind of people know a shadow of heaven's perfect joy. Even though hope may be burning in their hearts, what they're expecting will never come true. All they gain is the joy within their hearts. Such are the people who keep hoping the Lord will come. They feel heaven only within their heart and thoughts. dazzling, led by the Holy Spirit. You are changing in the best way, look at me. I'm dazzling, led by the word of truth. I know my destiny is changing. Go higher and higher, while throwing out my thoughts. Go higher and higher, taking action on His will. Go higher and higher, beyond the limit. That's how I can really truly love myself in the best way. We are transformed. We are awesome for sure. Let's climb the highest heights, go higher and higher.
Don't stop and just keep going.
Transforming, awesomely, go higher. Na 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 na.
Yeah. Look at you, look at me. Everyone is shining, that's the walls that block you and me. With the Lord, we'll break right through them. When we can do no more, the secret is doing more. There are no limits here, we're not with no limit. Don't stop, it just keep going. You changed a lot, so gotta keep growing. Started from the bottom, now we're going to the highest. The Lord, He takes me to the Trinity.
Rise up on the rest, go high, changing for the best.
Go high,
Rise up on the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise up on the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise up on the rest,
go high,
transforming, awesomely.
go high.
Go higher and higher, while throwing out my thoughts. Go higher and higher, taking action on His will. Go higher and higher, beyond the limit. That's how I can really truly love myself in the best way.
Faith Has Given Me. What a great song. And I am super happy about these brand new praise songs that are coming out that Pastor Joan is doing. They are total songs that you can just sing in your car all the time. Really inspiring things that you can get. They feel like all Holy Spirit movement style songs. So I really enjoy that one. Before that was Go Higher and Higher, and of course, Fulfillment of Hope. All right, so let's get into the word study for today. And of course, every single Tuesday, what kind of word study do we have? We are always going to go into the scriptures and the books for that week. And of course, what are we going to get into today? It's going to be the book of Ephesians, and this week's scriptures, Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4 and 5, that we are predestined to be adopted as children of this time, all right? So let's get into the book of Ephesians, all right? Now, a couple things you need to know about how well written the book of Ephesians is. It is actually held in great reverence by both biblical scholars and lay people, meaning people who are not religious, right? There's like an American Baptist theologian, his name is W.O. Carver, very famous, described the book of Ephesians as the greatest piece of writing in all history. And then there's also like an English poet, his name's Samuel Taylor Coleridge. He called the book of Ephesians the divinest composition of man. So in order to explore the full richness of the book of Ephesians, it's necessary to not only examine the literary text of the book, but to examine the historical, cultural context of the book as well. So we're going to explore who the audience and the author of the book were, as well as delving into the characteristics of the book, the full depth of the book of Ephesians, okay? So the book of Ephesians was written to God's holy people in the city of Ephesus, all right? And we know that from Ephesians chapter 1, verse 1. It states this, right? The city of Ephesus was a large commercial port city in Asia Minor, which is today would be Turkey, and it's located at the mouth of the Cayster River near the Aegean Sea. Now, as a large population center on a major trade route and the capital of the Roman province of Asia, Ephesus was considered the gateway to Asia. Additionally, the city of Ephesus was known as a center of pagan worship, as a temple of the Greek goddess Artemis, or the Roman goddess Diana, considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was located just outside of the city limits. Now, as such, people from across the region traveled to Ephesus to visit the temple, and an industry of blacksmiths served them by creating trinkets and statues of the goddess. Additionally, Ephesus was home to a large community of Jews who had a synagogue in the city. Now, the author of the book of Ephesus was Apostle Paul. Now, prior to writing his epistle to the Ephesians in 60 to 61 AD, Paul had an established ministry in Ephesus, and Paul first comes in contact with Ephesus when leaving Corinth to travel to Jerusalem in 53 AD, which means it's just, 7-8 years before, right, this church. And as noted in Acts chapter 18, verses 18 to 22, Paul stopped off in Ephesus, visited the synagogue in the city, and left his acolytes, Priscilla and Aquila, there before traveling on towards Jerusalem. Now, on his return from Jerusalem, Paul travels to Ephesus and establishes there his longest ministry in any one location. So if you look into Acts chapter 19, it describes that one of Paul's first works was to re-baptize 12 disciples in the name of Jesus who had been baptized by the Jewish Christian Apollos in the name of John. So Acts chapter 19, verses 8 to 10 goes on to state that Paul spent 3 months in the synagogue arguing persuasively about the kingdom of God, but after being maligned by the Jews of the synagogue, then spent 2 years having discussions daily in the lecture hall of Tyrannus. Now, he spent these discussions daily were with both Jews and Gentiles. And during this time, God did extraordinary miracles through Paul, so that even handkerchiefs and aprons that had touched him were taken to the sick, and their illnesses were cured, and the evil spirits left them. As crazy as that sounds, but that's also in Acts chapter 19. Now, such was the success and demand for Paul's ministry that blacksmiths who made idols for the goddess Artemis saw their business decline and their economic way of life threatened. So, led by a silversmith named Demetrius, an angry crowd rioted and filled the theater in Ephesus that held 24,500 people shouting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." Right? And this is also in Acts chapter 19. Soon after this riot, Paul left Ephesus in approximately around 56 AD to go to Macedonia, and Paul was never to return to Ephesus. So, What makes this book of Ephesus so special in relation to the other books of the New Testament that Paul penned? Now, New Testament scholars say that it offers a breathtaking view of the entire landscape, and other pastors call this, pastors would call this book like the high road of New Testament revelation. So, by examining the characteristics of the epistle or letter, we gain insight into why it's held in lofty regard. So, first, the book of Ephesians is not a personal letter, such as those written to like Timothy or Titus or Philemon, right? Nor does it speak of Paul's personal plans. So it kind of more, some people suggest that it may have been written as a circular letter to the church in Ephesus to be distributed to several young churches in the Ephesus region. Now, the letter doesn't seek to correct errors, as does his letters to Corinth or Galatia, nor is it a teaching epistle. So the church in Ephesus was kind of one of the most well-taught churches that ever existed, with Paul ministering there for nearly 3 years, and Timothy, Paul's close aide, ministering there after Paul left. So additionally, Paul wrote the book of Ephesians while imprisoned in Rome and unsure of what fate awaited him. Now, clearly, Paul wanted to drive home the point of his imprisonment as he starts Ephesians chapter 3 with, "For this reason I, Paul, the prisoner of Christ Jesus," right? And then in Ephesians chapter 4, he says, "As a prisoner for the Lord," right? So Paul may have been physically imprisoned, but his mind and spirit, as portrayed in the letter, were clearly free. And lastly, the style of the writing is kind of described as the language of a lyrical prayer. Right? That's the style of the writing. And there's kind of nothing like this in Paul's other letters. So by taking into account the audience, the author, and the characteristics, the context of the book of Ephesians rounds into view. So we have a teacher in Paul facing his earthly demise, right? He's in prison getting ready to die, right? Passing on potentially final thoughts to his most prized student in this church of Ephesus. So there are no more lessons to be taught, and now is a time for the students to reflect on the overarching purpose of the teaching: becoming a church created in Jesus Christ and in the glory of God. So the teacher and the student taking it's kind of like the teacher and student taking a final walk through the figurative church to divine in Ephesians chapter 1 through 3, and God's plan for his church, prayers for his believers, salvation for Jews and Gentiles alike. And then Ephesians chapter 4 through 6, the members of the church doing good work on behalf of the unity of the church for themselves and in their relationships with others. And as that walk comes to an end, Paul signals that it is time to put on the armor of God, which is Ephesians chapter 6, the last chapter, right? When he says, be strong in the Lord, his mighty power, put on the full armor of God, right? We have the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation, the belt of truth, the belt of truth, this is all Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 through 17. And when you look at this, the church of Ephesus has finally kind of matriculated, and Paul, the teacher, has sent them forth in the glory of God. So it is quite amazing when you think about the book of Ephesians. It's almost like his last book, but it's not teachings. It's not correcting people. It's kind of his final thoughts, and he's sending it to the church that is kind of like the most mature. So if you were to kind of compare it, it might be the difference of Sunseam sending a letter to the Whitestone church, and then then Sunseam sending a letter to one of our churches, right? And you can kind of see it, like even for me being in the Lord's church for about 5 years when it first started, the interesting part is the way Sunseam's letters were to us compared to when I left the Lord's church and you go to other places. It's more education. It's more about, come on guys, keep fighting, do it until the end. Or it would be other things written like, yes, you're going through this, but it's okay. It's very comforting and teaching and telling people to move forward. But then to the Lord's church, when I was there, all these letters are like, he's like joking around. He's having a fun time. The things he talks about is not like, hey, like it's kind of like we are struggling and we're not doing really well. It's more like he's kind of laying his head down and just talking. You know what I mean? And it kind of feels like this type of thing when it comes to the church of Ephesus compared to all his other letters, and why it would be this different. So, like when we just read here and we just listened here, it's they were probably the most well-educated church out of all the ones Paul went to, And one of the great things that you can see that was a big difference was he spent 2 years discussing and disputing about the gospel to both Jews and Gentiles, which means people were getting it. It's like, oh, this makes sense. Oh, that's why it's like this. So it's really, really interesting to hear this background. And even more is like Ephesus was supposed to be like the home to Artemis, right? The goddess Artemis, and all these blacksmiths and people ran Paul out of the city because they were they're losing business because everyone's coming to Christ instead. So that is quite interesting also, but I hope it's something that kind of opened your eyes a little bit more and you guys can realize more about Paul and who he is and this book of Ephesians, all right? So that is the word study for today. I hope it's something that you guys really, really enjoyed. Yes, it's the book of Ephesians, and we'll be going back, we'll see you guys again next week too when we do another book of the scriptures for the week. All right, so that is the word study for today, and we're going to get into the song of choice. Now, today's song of choice, I always take a Korean song, and I picked this from a show that my mom is watching right now. Like, my mom is watching, and, on her new TV, whatever it is, and whenever I come down, she's always watching this singing program. It's called Singer Gain 2. So I guess it's the second season, right? And this is like, they don't even have the names. It's just the number. This guy's singer number 33. This guy has the most raspiest and like his regular voice. Like when he's talking is like this. It's like everyone's like listening to this guy like, whoa, this guy's voice is like gone already. And but when he sings, he's got this deep shimjung. And this song that he sings, what's it called? It's called 너무, which means is very, or like 너무 아픈 사랑은 사랑이 아니었으면. Right? I think I butchered that, right? 너무 아픈 사랑은, so 너무 아픈 사랑, so which means a love that hurts so much. 사랑이, which is love, which is a love, 아니었으면, right? Which means that which is not really love. I think that's what it means. But this guy is like super popular in Korea right now. I don't even know his name. I was checking everywhere, but he's still singer number 33. All right, so this is from the show Singer Gain 2. All right, so let's welcome singer number 33.
그대 보내고 멀리 거길 세워 작별하듯 그대 떠나보내고 돌아와 술잔 앞에 앉으면 눈물 나 누나 그대 보내고 아주 지는 별빛 바라볼 때 눈에 흘러내리는 못다한 말들 그 아픈 사랑 지울 수 있을까 지울 수 있을까 어느 피라도 추억처럼 흩날리는 거리에서 쓸쓸한 사랑 되어 고개 숙이며 그대 목소리 너무 아픈 사랑이 아니었으면 너무 아픈 사랑이 아니었으면 너무 아픈 사랑
There it is. That is from the Korean program Singer Game 2, and that song is called 너무 아픈 사랑은 사랑이 아니었은 을. What does that mean? It means something to the tune of a love that hurts so much is not really love, right? So, oh, this guy's voice is just incredible. And I was looking on the YouTube to see like how many people are watching this. Like this program hasn't been out for that long, and he's got like 8 million views on this one song already. He's got a bunch of songs, all like, you know, people are so shocked by how well this guy sings with such a raspy, husky, like it's very charismatic voice. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that. Okay. So that means we're going to get into the last section for today. And these are my thoughts of the week on ministry, because ministry is such an important thing for all of us in each and every church. And I want to talk about something that I was talking to with some other leaders from different countries too, just within the last 2 weeks. And it's kind of something that is, I'm not sure what I'm not going to say it's sad, but it's more of when we come into this history, when we're not leaders, like, you know, we're excited, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe in this history. And then, you know, you work really hard, you do your best, and, you know, you try to do as much as you can. And then something like some switch flips in your head when you become a leader. And I'm not sure when it happens, but when you become a leader, something happens because all of a sudden, the way you are, or like, say if you're the leader of a church, like when I was a head leader, like your church symbolizes you. You put it like it's a very personal thing. Like how the church is who, like how you are as a person. It's really strange if you think about it. Like you're, you know, the way that the church runs, like how many people come to pre-dawn, how evangelism, how all these things are happening, you take it very, very personally. And there is this very bad thought or bad way of thinking that really permeates into leadership, that permeates down to regular members, that really causes a very toxic environment inside the church. And it's about being perfect. Okay? Now, what do I mean by being perfect? Being perfect means that, like, we, you know, as a leader, you're like, the thought of people making a single mistake drives you to be upset, or you're not going to be happy with someone, or you're going to rebuke them. And I'm not talking about just like a small mistake, but like a small thing as in someone who's a newcomer or someone who's been in church for 10 years who misses pre-dawn once. And then all of a sudden, like the leaders look down on you, or they're not treating you as well as they should, or you're going through a difficult time. No one knows it, but you miss maybe 2 or 3 pre-dawns in the week. And what happens is there is this feeling that we can never make a mistake in Providence. And I felt it too, because even for me, this is how crazy it was when I was head leading too, is I was living about 30 minute train ride. Like I took a subway to get to church and for pre-dawn. And I was someone who, I was already good at pre-dawn. But one time I came late and man, I felt like dirt. I honestly felt like dirt. Like, oh my gosh. And then from that point on, I slept at the church. I never stayed at home so that I would never be late for pre-dawn service. So it's kind of extreme, don't you think? And because I'm that extreme, what happens is it permeates into how I talk to people and stuff like that too. If they don't make pre-dawn, if they come late, whatever it is. And what happens is we take our personal way we think of ourselves and we put it on other people. Right? And then it causes tons of burden on other people that, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I'm such a sinner because I fell asleep during pre-dawn, or I fell asleep during the Sunday service, or I wasn't paying attention as much as I should, or I made a mistake during tech, or it was really, really, I look at that and say, wow, it's such a toxic environment. It really is. That people are afraid to say when they made a mistake, right? People are afraid to talk about it. People don't want, and it causes this like burdening in our hearts where we feel like, oh no, what did I do? Or even these small things, you're even scared that Sunsteam's going to find out. Like Sunsteam, it pushes over into Sunsteam where you think that Sunsteam's like that too. Where Sunsteam's going to get at you at every single like small mistake you make, and we're like, oh no, Sunsteam's going to be so upset. It's really weird that the way that our leaders are, the way that we are sometimes, and we cause people to think that perfection is the only way to do it. Yes, our goal is to eventually become perfect, but we're not perfect right now, right? Not a single person. We all are making mistakes. We're all doing the wrong things. We are. We're not perfect. And there's so many circumstantial things that we have to take into consideration. Like, for instance, let's just say someone has to go to a funeral. Someone, mom or dad, their parents passed away, or they lost their job or something else. And we become less empathetic, and we're thinking only about the rule of you should go to every pre-dawn. And when this type of thinking seeps too deeply into a church, people feel very burdened. People feel like they can't make mistakes. People feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Oh no, why did I do this? And people begin to there's more problems that happen. Way more problems that happen. And it gets to a point where people feel unworthy to be in Providence, which they should never feel. And I would have to say, like, the biggest problem is, like, people feel unworthy to be in Providence. And then I would say the worst thing is when people start to think that Sunsteam's like that, when Sunsteam totally isn't. One of the things that you have to think about here is, have you ever been shocked when Sunsteam has, like, Sunsteam's forgiven someone for doing something really bad? Like, say they committed the fault, Sunsteam forgives them, or like, oh my gosh. Or someone's not a very good person, or like, they're not a very pleasant person, but Sunsteam treats them so well. We're like, oh, treat them so well. And that could be one of the problems. One of the problems is we're thinking that everyone has to be so perfect. And if you're shocked by Sunsteam treating people this well, that means we might be thinking wrong. We might be thinking too extreme of perfection. That even when Sunsteam's treating someone how he normally treats people all the time so well, that we look at that as such a shocking thing. That's kind of a sign that we're a little bit too extreme on the you have to be perfect. No, our goal is to perfect at our level. Remember, Sunsteam always says we reach perfection and we're perfecting ourselves more and more each day at each level, right? Which means that, yes, I'm trying to perfect myself at my level, but my level right now might be level 2, which means that I'm just trying to get me just waking up for pre-dawn. That is my success. That is my success at level 2. But when you're at level 12, you're like, all right, I'm getting up. That's a normal thing for me. But, for me to perfect myself is to have this really deep prayer at level 12. But you couldn't put that onto a level 2 person and say, hey, why do you keep falling asleep? When their main thing of perfection is just getting up at their level. And I do think that, I'm just as guilty as this too, as a leader, because, we're always thinking like, come on, be perfect. And sometimes you hear the message, you're like, oh, the message is like, right, be perfect, for the Lord your God is perfect. Come on, guys, you got to wake up. Come on, this. And like, and it's crazy because even on the weeks where Sunsteam does say to go to pre-dawn, sometimes we miss pre-dawn. Even in the week he's telling us to go to pre-dawn, we miss it. And some people miss it here and there. And then people kind of get a little bit upset at each other too, right? And in order for us to have a very strong sense of a strong ministry department or group, the atmosphere of the church has to be really good. But starting with leadership, we have to think about, are leaders really expecting everyone to be perfect, to do everything absolutely perfectly? Or are they empathetic and they understand that, hey, everyone has their own level, everyone's struggling with certain things. We might not even know what they're struggling with. However, we understand. And that is something that I think that all of us can really take into consideration and understand that we have to be those that are not going to push people that they have to be perfect now, but we encourage each other. We take care of each other. If mistakes happen, it's okay, and you just keep pushing forward. And when newcomers see this type of thing, it changes the whole atmosphere changes, where it's not so tight and burdened, like, oh, I gotta be perfect. It doesn't have to be like that. All right. So that's kind of my new thought. Not my new thought, but it's one of the thoughts of the week for ministry I had for this Tuesday thoughts of the week. All right. So that is the thoughts of the week. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. I hope that everyone has a wonderful and awesome Tuesday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this.